Chapter 17 Natural Hypnosis, Healing, and the Transference of Physical Symptoms into Other Levels of Activity. Some people who have been ill for years suddenly recover, and then throw themselves into some great beneficial social endeavor in which their own problems are lost, and a new stability is maintained. Often, this represents a symbolic transference of symptoms from the body outward into the social structure. I am not implying that all social workers are driven by personal problems. On the other hand, it is quite true to say that many such questions turn into challenges with a change of mind, and are then used as impetuses to effect social alterations. In such cases, the dilemma is projected outside of the self and seen as an exterior condition which can be manipulated. Indeed, a quote-unquote magical transformation is involved. This is not to be construed, however, as a statement that all creative acts result from individual problems or neuroses. Quite the contrary, in fact. Such problems projected outward can never really be solved as far as the individual is concerned, of course, since their source is not understood. Since the source is not understood, no exterior manipulation in the social structure will be effective enough, and the person involved will see the problem personified in every issue. Hence, even improvements in the social framework will be quote-unquote invisible to the individual's perception, not noticed. They will seem so minute in comparison with the problem. The same sort of reaction occurs if you concentrate upon a personal illness, and then find any improvements insignificant because of the great focus of your attention upon the negative aspects. A sudden conversion may completely rid an individual of physical symptoms. Any kind of conversion. Under that general term, I include a strong emotional arousal and fresh emotional involvement, affiliation, or sense of belonging. This may involve religion, politics, art, or simply falling in love. In all of these areas, the problem, whatever its nature or cause, is in one way or another, quote-unquote, magically transferred to another facet of activity, projected away from the self. Huge energy blocks are moved. The man who has believed that he was evil may now see the world or persons of another faith or political affiliation as evil instead. He then feels rid of the problem itself, but is quite ready to attack it in others, and with great self-righteousness and justification. I am making a distinction here between such conversion experiences and genuine mystic understanding, which may also come in a flash of time. Mystic enlightenment does not see an enemy, however, and there is no need for arrogance, attack, or self-justification. Love, as it is often experienced, allows an individual to take his sense of self-worth from another for a time, and to at least momentarily let the other's belief in his goodness supersede his own beliefs in lack of worth. Again, I make a distinction between this and a greater love in which two individuals, knowing their own worth, are able to give and to receive. Again, you make your own reality. When you view the world, social groups, political groups, your friends, your private experience, these are all attracted into your realm of activity by your beliefs. Natural hypnosis, as explained in the last chapter, leads you to seek out those situations that will confirm your beliefs, and to avoid those that threaten them. You will often try to project a problem outward to free yourself. If this is done, the question at issue will seem forever outside of you, beyond solution, and of mass proportion. Let us look into a situation involving a woman I will call Deneen, who telephoned Rupert today from a western state, and see one of the predicaments that can arise. Deneen is a well-educated woman of middle age with several grown children, financially at ease, possessing all of the things that money can buy. She called Rupert nearly in a frenzy. Desperate, she said, for help. Since she has written Rupert several times, he was aware of the situation. Deneen was convinced that she was being cursed, hypnotized, and had fallen under the domination of another. She had been going from psychic to psychic, dabbling in automatic writing and seeing little of her husband, who was involved in his own business affairs. She had been told by different quote-unquote psychics that she would be a psychic teacher, and various words and techniques had been given her to ward off the quote-unquote evil influence. Rupert correctly perceived the great need for a zest and excitement in this woman's life, for initiative. It was apparent that Deneen sat alone all day in her lovely home with nothing to do, that she was making no effort to face her situation truly, but looking to others to do it for her, and therefore reinforcing her sense of powerlessness. She felt she had no power in the moment. This is an abdication of the severest kind, involving both your spiritually and your biological nature. You feel entrapped far more than an animal in a dire situation, and you deny yourself the ability to act. The withheld power is itself transferred then. In Deneen's case, it was put onto another. If she could not make decisions, this other person could, through long-distance hypnosis, force her to act whether she wanted to or not. Now, the other individual has no power that Deneen does not possess. Deneen heartily believes in good and evil. So, being convinced that she was at the mercy of demoniacal forces, she began to pray. As Rupert pointed out, however, the prayers themselves were merely a weak surrender to the idea that evil was so powerful. They were not based on any real belief in the power of good, but only upon a superstitious hope that if bad forces exist, good ones must also. Rupert explained, after hearing about the automatic communications, that these were simply repressed elements of the subconscious, finding needed outlet. He suggested that Deneen find herself a job, stop seeing psychics, and assert her own individuality and her own responsibility for action. Deneen believed that other people acted oddly toward her because they had been hypnotized into doing so. If someone frowned at her, this was the result of hypnotic suggestion. All of this may sound exotic to some of you, and be only too real to others, but any time that you assign elements of your experience to exterior sources, you are really doing the same thing that Deneen did. She felt that certain rituals or foods warded off this evil hypnotic suggestion. Yet many of you take vitamins, convinced that they will save you from various diseases. Within Deneen's belief system, she was acting quite rationally, and in your belief system, you are doing the same. You are convinced of the reality of illness. It may not be quote-unquote out to get you as viciously as Deneen believes that evil is bent on threatening her, but the issues are the same. If you believe that you come down with a cold every time you are in a draft, you are using natural hypnosis. If you think that you must come and go at everyone else's beck and call, then you are like Deneen, who believes that she must do what this quote-unquote hypnotist tells her to do. In her case, Deneen gave up the responsibility for action and initiative, yet because one must act, the reasons were assigned to another. Rupert also pointed this out. Deneen asked for advice from me, and again Rupert said quite correctly, you must learn to stop depending upon others, to use your own common sense. You must stop trying to use one symbol against another, and look at your own life and your beliefs. You can project your dilemmas or your abilities outward into other avenues of activity then, but until you realize that you form your reality and that your power resides in the moment, you will not be able to solve your problems nor utilize your strengths properly. Now, Deneen carefully chose the territory in which these adventures would take place. For some time, with her children grown, she had felt alone, unnecessary, denied the structure of vital action in which she had to care for her family earlier. And so the great energy of her being, before taken up by her children, had no outlet. Now, her life, while difficult, has its own excitement. She is a heroine, battling cosmic forces of good and evil, important enough so that another person even wants to control her. Even the animals seek stimuli and feel a zest for existence. So in this way, Deneen, in a misguided manner, is still giving expression to a definite need of her being. Rupert also suggested a counselor, but until Deneen is ready to exchange the beliefs she has for others that will allow her to fulfill her own abilities, she will still be in difficulty. Deneen is in excellent physical health, however, and is an extremely attractive woman. She did not choose a situation in which either her health or beauty would be imperiled. She also stayed clear of any sexual involvement outside of marriage. She chose the psychic arena because she felt it to be out of the ordinary to begin with, and invested with all kinds of mystery. Any difficulties encountered there would automatically have a kind of glamour and distinction. The more she was reassured by others with the same beliefs, the deeper her involvement grew. Each individual has what I will call a psychic territory of power. This represents an inviolate area in which the person insists upon remaining supreme, aware of his or her uniqueness and abilities. This psychic region will be protected at all costs, and here there is indeed immunity from all disease or lack. Other portions of the psyche may be battlegrounds for problems, but the individual will not really feel threatened in a critical way as long as this primary territory is intact. For all of her talk of desperation, then, Deneen has chosen her field of conflict. She will avoid any kind of disfiguration or severe health problem, which to her would be a far greater danger. Because of different personal characteristics, another individual will hold qualities of the mind, say, inviolate, and work out challenges through bodily illness. Another may choose the severest poverty, projecting into that situation his or her own resolved conflicts. Another may choose alcoholism. In these cases, there can be some feeling of panic if an analyst or friend tries to switch the areas of conflict. For instance, the alcoholic is well acquainted with the battleground he or she has picked. An ill person, suddenly well, has to face dilemmas that were ignored before or personified in disease. Deneen, denied the support of the framework she had chosen, would have to face the questions that she had projected there. But all of the inner difficulties can be resolved by understanding that you form your own reality, and that your point of power is in the present. The habit of not facing problems, which indeed are challenges, can be addictive. A feeling of powerlessness in one field can be transferred to others. When this happens through natural hypnosis, then even the psychic territory of power can be assailed. Here, the individual becomes thoroughly aroused, threatened, and realizes for the first time perhaps the nature of belief and his or her predicament. Here you have life and death struggles in creative terms. Some miraculous cures or changeabouts in midlife occur as a result. All of this is intimately connected with your biological structure, which is meant to follow the conscious mind's interpretation of reality. As I have said before, your thoughts are reality. They directly affect your body. It seems that you are highly civilized people because you put your ill into hospitals where they can be cared for. What you do, of course, is to isolate a group of people who are filled with negative beliefs about illness. The contagion of beliefs spreads. Patients are obviously in hospitals because they are ill. The sick and their doctors both work on that principle. Women delivering children are placed in the same environment. This may seem very humane to you, and yet the entire system is structured so that childbirth does not seem to be the result of health, but of illness. Stimuli pertaining to health is effectively blocked in such organizations. The ill are gathered together and denied all of their normal and natural conditions, including the compensating motivations that alone would sometimes be enough to restore health if given time. This isolation would be unfortunate enough without the application of drugs meant to help, but often given without understanding. Loved ones are permitted to visit the sick on but certain occasions, so those who wish them well in the strongest terms, who are closest to them and who love them, are efficiently prevented from exerting any natural constructive behavior. For all practical purposes, the ill are put into prison. They are forced to concentrate upon their condition. All of this applies quite apart from any other dehumanizing effects, such as overcrowded conditions, the denial of human privacy, and often the negation of dignity. The individual is made to feel powerless, at the mercy of doctors or nurses who often do not have the time or energy to be personable or to explain his or her condition in terms that he can understand. The patient is therefore forced to transfer his own sense of power to others, which further deepens his misery, and in turn reinforces the sense of powerlessness that initiated the condition.